It's not just me that have said a lot of things like that. I've just spoken up. Anyone can have a thing at me and say I'm nasty and that, but a lot of other people have said it. I'm not going to drop blame.
Just give it, you got to be able to take it.
No, Jess, yeah, you're bad mind, babe. I'm not being...
I was actually nervous about the EVE performance. I didn't know whether the Islanders would be able to relate or whether they would know who she was, but they all seem to enjoy themselves. I know. And also, Grace is getting on my last nerve. The way she's becoming territorial with Joey Essex. When she was enjoying his attention and Samantha was crying, she didn't empathize. Now the shoe's on the other foot, she's crying. Please sit down, we're not here for it. And then Kieran... normally when I stand someone, but I also try to be unbiased. And in this situation, I'm sorry, but I'm not on Kieran's side. I am not. The fact that you still have someone like Ronnie, who we've all criticized throughout the season, having to tell him that you need to apologize, and he's standing on business to say, no, I'm not going to apologize. And it's like, well... buddy, this is not a good look for you. You need to apologize. This is not it for you. If you had a grievance with her, you should have pulled her aside. But anyway, I digress. Hey there, thanks for stopping by. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, share, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Island UK, Season 11, Episode 22. One thing about me is, even if I stand someone, I will always try and look at it from different angles. As much as I support Kieran and I love Kieran, I'm sorry, but in this situation, I have to say he was wrong. I have to say he was wrong in the sense that he was having a back and forth with Harriet, yes. But for him to go to the gutter, to go and say some of the most vindictive things that he knew would break her was unacceptable. Of all the things he could have said about his time with her in a couple, he could have said anything else. But for him to sort of make her feel less than because she's been in love triangles a couple of times doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. With Ronnie, I am going to say it, with Ronnie, she was always his number one. In the triangle with Jess, she was number one. I think what happened with Tiffany is because she sort of retaliated. That's when he decided to sort of cut her off. But as soon as she came back, as soon as Tiffany was taken out of the equation, he ran back to her. Not because there wasn't other options for him, but I think he always prioritized her. We all know that Joey would have liked Harriet had Harriet given him the opportunity, but she didn't see him in that light. So for Kieran to say this was below the belt, way below the belt. I didn't like it. And for his girl to sit there and say you haven't done something wrong, I don't get it, because it's a bit hypocritical for the two of them, Kieran and Nicole, because Kieran countless times has been upset when Nicole has told him immature, but the moment Harriet said it, he went to the gutter. And it's like, so you're more offended by Harriet calling you a kid than your partner that you sleep with, you kiss, you make out, you do everything, who every single moment anything goes wrong, she's calling you childish, she's calling you immature, she's telling you your age shows, she's telling you she doesn't want to be with someone like that. And for you to be offended that Harriet gave her a heads up. Okay, let's look at the reason why Harriet gave her a heads up to say, be mindful. You've cheated on a former partner, you've had 3 sums, 4 sums, 5 sums, whatever sums you've had, you slept with 120 people. How many more red flags do you want? If someone doesn't tell you to be mindful, then that person hates you more than they hate anything else in life. Because even if you're not my best friend, I would still say to you, girl, I know it's not my business, I know it's not my place to say, but I would make sure that your love has eyes to see. And so for him to be offended by the fact that Nicole was given a heads up, she didn't say break up with him, she just said be mindful. And according to Harriet, this was 2 weeks ago. And so I don't get why suddenly, so he's been holding on to it for 2 weeks. Make that make sense? Make that make sense? I give credit to Ronnie for standing up for Harriet and saying, no, she is number one. She is my number one. And so I give him credit for that. Yeah, I feel sorry for Harriet. Nobody deserves to cry. Nobody deserves to be made to feel like they're less than. And so to have Kieran say that and then have the girls back him, I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. I give credit. Mimi actually said, Mimi normally is non-confrontational, but she actually said, no, this is not on. And I know when Jess was saying, oh, if you can give it, you have to take it. I know Mimi is going to have a word with Kieran at some point. But at this point, I give her credit for calling out Jess. Jess, the audacity to be the scum of the villa, to be the one that's there and I don't know what she hates about Harriet. Jess hates the air that Harriet breathes. Jess hates the ground that Harriet walks on. Because I think to Jess, Harriet is the person that she wishes she could be. Yes, she says she's my little sister, but you wouldn't even treat your little sister like that. I think Harriet is the person that Jess wishes she could be. I think she wishes she could get the attention from the guys that Harriet gets. I think she wishes she could be in the position. And instead of being envious, instead of praising and complimenting someone for where they are, she has decided to be vindictive and malicious and say some of the most horrible things. So for Mimi to call her out, I give Mimi credit for calling, Jess out. Yeah, when she had a conversation with Trey, I didn't quite get that. And I don't get why Trey can't see red flags unless he's decided to couple up with the only person he thinks in the villa will keep him safe. But with the way the public hate Jess, it's going to be tough going for him. It's going to be tough going for him. I think he should turn his attention to somebody else. I think he should have turned his attention to Matilda or somebody else to have a conversation. Because even just was saying, oh, I've behaved myself. And he said, yeah, but I felt sorry for Harriet. Nobody deserves to be spoken to like that. Yeah, he is right in that sense. But also at the same time, he needs to tell Jess the truth that I don't like the way you spoke. Oh, you're not used to people who are honest with you. I don't sugarcoat. There is a way of being honest without being disrespectful. There is a way of being honest without being derogatory. There is a way of being honest without hurting somebody's feelings. Jess needs to learn the truth. This is why she's easily impressed by stupid stuff like I've been to uni. She gets on my nerves now. Karma is a calling for Grace. And it's sad because Joey pulled, Jessy with her wife for a chat, and he says he's really enjoying himself. He's really enjoying getting to know her. Apparently the conversation went on for a very long time. I think he really likes her. I think he thinks she's more good looking. She's more she comes across as more articulate and more intelligent than Grace with a Y. And sadly, because Grace, now I'm calling her Grace with a Y, because Grace gave the goodies away as soon as they reunited, he doesn't see any need to continue to sort of chase after her. They've had sex countless times in the villa. She's made out with him countless times. So I think to him, the allure of Grace has faded, and he's now interested in somebody else, and this is why he's pursuing, Jessy with a Y. The islanders get ready for the night, and while the girls are getting ready, Grace has the audacity to ask, Jessy with a Y, oh, did you pull him for a chat? And she's like, no, it's not me. He came looking for me. And it's like, why are you interrogating this girl? This girl owes you no explanation. You should be addressing Joey. He's the one who was chatting to her. He's the one you're in a connection with. She has nothing to do with this situation. Turn around, go and speak to Joey. Anyway, she throws a tantrum and decides to go and sleep outside on the day beds. Matilda offers to go and sleep with her. Hey, to each their own. And then you have, Joey asking everyone in the bedroom, so why is Grace sleeping outside? Did someone upset her? Was it about the game? What was it about? Harriet, is it you? And it's like, why are you asking everybody else? Go outside and ask her, why are you sleeping outside? If you could go and ask Sam why she was sleeping outside, why can't you go and do the same with Grace? I don't get it. In the morning, obviously there's still tension about the situation with Harriet and Kieran. Just the night before sort of had a go at Harriet to say, if you can give it, why can't you take it? Should you be allowed to say whatever you want and nobody else be allowed to say what they want? And it's like, it's not about saying, it's about the delivery. The delivery is the problem. And the fact that if Kieran had an issue with her, he should have spoken to her in private. He didn't need to bring it out at the fire pit in front of everybody else. That's the main topic of conversation during the debriefs, the situation with Kieran and Harriet. Ronnie feels some type of way. He feels like it was disrespectful. He feels like if Kieran had an issue with Harriet, he should have pulled her aside, because now he is now being pulled into the situation whereby he has to take sides, and he doesn't want to be in that sort of situation. Because even Kieran was joking, oh, I think I went turbo. And it's like, you're wrong. Just own up, you're wrong. The way you spoke to her was unacceptable. It's unacceptable, whether she's a girl or a boy, it's unacceptable for you to address your grievance in front of everybody unless everybody's involved in that situation, unless there are one or two parties involved in that situation. Even still, when your girl told you that that's what she was saying, you should have pulled her aside and spoken to her. Harriet, I don't like, I heard A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Anyway, you have Grace. She's still feeling some type of way about the fact that Joey hasn't pulled her for a chat. She's not going to pull him for a chat. She's going to wait for him to pull her for a chat. And it's like, well, you're going to be waiting a long time. You have Jessy and Nicole have a conversation. Nicole, I think, does not want to be involved. She doesn't care. She said what she said, and her boyfriend sort of stuck up for her after she made whatever allegation she made against Harriet, and so she's not bothered either way. For Jessy to say, oh, I don't care, why are people pussyfooting about her? She walks like a princess. This is Jessy's problem with Harriet. This is Jessy's problem with Harriet. She doesn't like the fact that it's either Harriet is from an affluent family or Harriet is highly educated. One of the two things is the reason why Jessy has a problem with her, plus the fact that Ronnie likes her. That's my opinion. So Ronnie pulled Kieran for a chat. Actually, Ronnie is maturing. I didn't think this would happen, but it seems he's actually growing and he's actually changing into a new man, because he had a conversation with Kieran. Personally, I don't get what Kieran is not understanding, because yes, Kieran is saying it was a game. Yes, it was a game. You were asked who's Two-Face. You should have just said it's Harriet. And when you were asked why, you should have just said, well, I'd rather have a personal conversation with Harriet because I think this is something that needs to be discussed privately, because it's secondhand information. It's information I've heard from somebody else and I want to address it with Harriet. And that would have been it. So for him to continue to stick to his guns and say that, no, I am not going to apologize. It was a game. Yes, it was a game. But if somebody else had said the same thing to Nicole, I bet your reaction wouldn't be the same. I bet your reaction would not be to agree to say it was a game. And so I give Ronnie credit for saying, you are my friend. She's my partner. I don't want to have to take sides. And at the end of the day, our friendship is going to suffer because I am going to always pick my partner. I can't pick you over someone I'm in a couple with. And Kieran understands that, but he's still saying, well, I'm not going to apologize. I'm not going to apologize. Okay, do you? When you sit down and maybe a couple of years down the line, you'll see, when you're a bit more, advanced in age, you'll see what he's trying to say. I think at the end of the day, he should have pulled her aside and said, okay, I am sorry for this, is how I truly feel, but I'm sorry that I addressed it in front of everybody else. I should have pulled you aside and had a private conversation away from the rest of the group. That way, you and I could have addressed our concerns and you could have told me your reasoning for why you did what you did. That's what she should have done at the end of the day, in my opinion. But then, anyway, I digress. You had this conversation between Joey and Grace. Well, Grace is thirsty. She's thirsty. I think she's thirsty for the attention. I don't think she likes Joey like that. I think she likes his celebrity status, and I think she likes the benefits that come with being in a couple with him. And also the fact that she's looking like an idiot because she gave him the goods and now he's ready to move on to his next conquest. And so I think this is why she's feeling some type of way. I don't think she's feeling some type of way for any other reason than that. For Joey to give his rationale and say, well, you gave, Connor the green light, and so I deserve to know this bombshell. I had an obligation to, and she's sort of fighting. No, you didn't have, you were not forced. You don't have to get to know her at the end of the day. Stick to your guns. If you're going to hold him accountable, hold him accountable. Don't be wavering and sort of saying, okay, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to do anything with you because, you're still getting to know the bombshell. Well, if you're saying that, don't make out with him. Do not make out with him. Why are you making out with him? And also for her to then wait until they were close to, within sort of eyesight of Jessy with a Y, it doesn't make sense to me. It shows immaturity on her part, in the sense that she's trying to play stupid games, and yet Joey is the one who keeps pulling Jessy. It's not Jessy who's pulling Joey. Joey is the one who is pulling Jessy for chats all the time. And Grace to think that just because Joey has kissed and hugged her in front of Jessy, that's the end of it. I don't think so. I think Joey's still going to pull her for another chat and another chat and another chat. Anyway, the islanders received a text message to say that Eve will be arriving in the villa. I really don't get, after Neo, I don't get Eve coming. I really don't get Eve coming, because to me, I don't know. I like Eve, but I think they could have done with another better star. That's just my opinion. So the surprise guest is Eve. And I have to say I was nervous because I didn't know whether the islanders would be able to relate to Eve or whether they would know her songs. And so, yeah, they didn't sing the lyrics like, you know, they did with Neo on the other season. But at least it seemed they had a great time. And it seemed she was nervous, but also she had a great time with the islanders, which was good. It was nice to see people dancing. Oh my God, the twerking from Nicole. Oh, it is what it is. But at least everybody had a great time. That's the most important thing. That's the purpose, I think, of having the performances from the guests. She then leaves after a selfie. I was wondering whether they were going to take them to Casa like they did with Neo, but this is only week 3, if I'm not mistaken. So it would be a bit too early. Besides, they have bombshells that have just recently come in that haven't coupled up with anyone. So it would have been surprising if they had taken bombshells that are not coupled up with anyone to Casa Amor. So I think maybe Casa will probably be next week. After Eve leaves, the islanders are then asked to stand in their couples and for the new bombshells to stand on the stage, and it's like, oh, it's time to recouple. Let's go. So Trey, I think, chose a couple he thought would keep him in the villa and would get him more airtime. That's my opinion. And it would get him more clout when he left the villa. Otherwise, there's no justification for why he chose Jess. Jess is one of the most vindictive, malicious people in the villa, and I wouldn't want her to couple up with my worst enemy. So I'm surprised that he agreed to couple up with her. She was ecstatic. The way she was looking down on everybody else, like, you know, finally I have my own person. And it's like, it's not a prize, really. You're the only one that's available. Outside of the new bombshell, you're the only person that's available. Everybody else is in a couple that is less likely to budge. So that's why he's gone for you. It's not because you are a prize, as you've always said. So Jessy with a Y is deciding, I think, between Will and Joey. And so while she was sort of deciding, making a final decision, you have Uma sort of mutter, she better not pick you. And it's like, well, if she picks him, what are you going to do? There's nothing you can do. That shows that he really wasn't 100% into you. And it's okay. You might be lucky to get another bombshell, or you might be lucky to go to Casa. So it's okay. You can just, keep it moving. When she picks Joey is shocked. Grace is fuming. And it's like, why is she fuming? And why is he pretending to be shocked? The fact that he didn't even give her any acknowledgement when he stood beside Jessy with a Y, that was wrong. That was wrong, in my opinion. Anyway, so you have Grace storm off. She's upset. She says, he was giving her the green light. That's why she chose him. And it's like, oh, when Connor picked you, you said you didn't give him a green light. You're surprised he picked you. But when it's Joey, he gave her a green light. Make that make sense. That doesn't make sense. You gave Connor a green light. You were encouraging Connor. And then when he picked you and you realized that you're screwed up, you started blaming Connor for picking you the same way you blamed Oma for flirting with you. She eventually comes and pulls Joey for a chat. And I don't even know why she pulled Joey for a chat, because she had previously declared that she would never pull him for a chat. He would have to pull her for a chat. It doesn't make sense. His excuse, well, I owe it to myself to get to know people, and, I owe it to myself to get to know her. I didn't give her a green light to pick me, so I'm surprised that she picked me. And it's like, nah, you're not, Joey. You're not. And for Grace to sort of console herself with that, it doesn't make sense. She is coming across as desperate. This is the same thing that happened on Love Island USA. So when Joey thought he was going to be vulnerable, he made Grace feel guilty for allowing Connor to pick her. Suddenly the shoe is on the other foot. He's happy to move on to somebody else. And I don't get it for him to say, I've been honest with everything that I've done. I haven't, hidden in the terrace or done anything malicious. So you have to give me credit for that. And it's like, nah. And even to use the Samantha excuse still didn't make sense. Joey is the fool. Joey is not serious. Joey likes the next shiny object. That's the impression that I get. It's not because maybe, Jessy with a Y is a standout character and there's something. Well, he says they have in-depth conversations, and I wonder whether that's the only thing that he's interested in, or whether he's now fed up of Grace and he's decided to move on. Because otherwise, I don't get why he even bothered entertaining Jessy with a Y if he was happy with Grace. If he was having sex every day on tap, if he was having someone to boost his ego, there's no reason for him to have picked to have allowed Jessy with a Y to pick him. from there, you know, he leaves her. Well, she storms off from the fire pit, and the next thing you have Joey pulling, you know, Jessy with a wife for a chat. And given the fact that he said, I don't stick around, he took her to the terrace. And Kieran was saying to you, because Nicole was saying, oh, he's taking her to the terrace. Well, it's none of her business where he takes her. If he wants to take her to the bedroom, that's him. If he wants to take her to the terrace, that's him. She needs to mind her business with her man. One day he's going to turn on her and treat her the same way he treated Harriet. And I'm waiting for that. I hope this turns Jess into a nice person, because you can tell she's smitten. She's smitten by Trey. She's excited that he chose her. She really likes him, the way she's all giddy and stuff. And it's like, I am not buying that from him. I think he has chosen to stay in the villa with someone who he thinks will keep him safe. And for her, she is smitten. The fact that she's trying to play hard to get. She's saying, oh, I've never shared a bed with someone I liked. You were in bed with Ronnie. Please. You were fighting for Ronnie just a couple of days ago. And yet you're saying you've never been in a bed with someone you liked. Make that make sense. Outside of Joey and Sean, you've always shared your bed with Ronnie. So please sit down. We're not listening to that nonsense. She's ecstatic when he kisses her. She's giddy. She's in a confessional saying, oh, you know, this is what I was waiting for. And it's like, nah. I'm not buying it. I really am not. And I hope he gives her a taste of her own medicine, the way she's treated other islanders. I'm not one to celebrate in somebody else's misery, but this time I would love that. This time I would really call for it, because Jess has been moving mad in the villa. She's been horrible to some of the other islanders. So she deserves to have a taste of her own medicine. They're giddy, that's fine. And Joey, so after his conversation with Grace, he decides to pull Jessy for a chat with a Y. And it's like, nah, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? You've just told her that, you know, you're going to be good. You're going to make sure that you don't move messy. And then you pull Jessy with a Y to the terrace. We all know what happens on the terrace. We all know that the terrace is code word for let's make out. So I'm not surprised that he took her there. And for her to sort of, Jessy with a Y, I think, is smitten. I think she likes Joey, but she's not sure how to sort of take him, because she's worried that he's going to behave the same way he behaved with Samantha, and she doesn't want to be, you know, a casualty of that. But when I look at Joey and his connection with Grace and with Sam, it was more stalker vibes, in the sense that this was a groupie who really liked him and liked the character Joey Essex, and that's all she was after. With Grace, I think it's someone he's got a sexual attraction to, and that's it. So he's sexually attracted to her, but he's not sort of, it doesn't go past that. I don't think there's emotion there. I think might be some sort of infatuation, if we want to be honest. But with Jessy with a Y, I think he has everything. I think he's able to have conversations with her. He's physically attracted to her. He's emotionally sort of becoming attached to her. And I don't see him actually breaking up with her. I have a feeling that she is actually going to be the one who's going to break his heart, and it's going to be shocking for him, because he really seems smitten. He really seems taken by her, and he doesn't know what to do with himself, because the fact that he took her to the terrace, he could have easily kissed her anywhere or kissed her in a challenge, but he took her to the terrace. He made his intentions known. She knew that's why he was taking him to the terrace. Everybody else in the villa knew that's why he was taking her to the terrace. And for Grace and the girls to go and sit by the fire pit and sort of want to listen into what's happening, it's like, why? You're all exploring connections. Nobody is settled down. Nobody is locked off. So why are you making this girl uncomfortable? You had Joey and, you know, Jessy with a Y having to perform the Ekensu, you know, crawl on the terrace, and it's like, why should they be hiding? If he is exploring a connection, and if you are still both open, you refuse to put a title. Remember when you told Connor that, oh, I don't like putting titles? Well, here you are. Had you put a title, then you wouldn't be having all these problems. But because you didn't put a title, here you are. You're stuck with Joey, sort of exploring connections. And you can't blame him for that, because you refuse to close off. And even if I think that closed off, Joe would have still opened up because he really seems smitten by Jessy with a Y. He really seems smitten by Jessy with a Y. I can't wait to see the fallout of this. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. And click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 21. Bye guys.